This is Weekly Woman by Jubilance for PMS. Rebecca, I want to welcome you to the podcast. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. I'm honored and excited. So thank you.
Yay! And I just was talking to you just right before this, and you're in Vancouver. Can you tell me about your favorite part of being there right now?
Yes. Well, Vancouver is stunning. It's so beautiful. And I'm a bit of a nature freak. So there's mountains, there's ocean. It's just a delight. And then I also love a little bit of grunge. So there's a street called Commercial Drive, and it's like a mix of like hippies and grungy people and rich people and everyone. So that's like my favorite place to go for sure.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I just like picture that in like 90s New York. We have like St. Mark's, which was our like street of grunge. So like
Oh,
that's the place where you can go and still feel that way, like the punk
yeah.
stores. So
Yeah.
that's pretty
Oh my
fun.
gosh. Oh, that's yeah, it's an interesting city. I was mentioning before, the people are a little bit cold, which is so interesting and a little confusing because it's so beautiful here. But
Mhm.
once you find your people, then it's amazing. So yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
just like can picture all the trees. That's what I think of with
Yes.
Vancouver
Oh,
and like
forestry
the
every day.
fall. Oh my God.
Gorgeous.
It looks so beautiful. We like barely have a tree here in New York.
I know, concrete jungle. It's the
Yeah.
truth. I've been there a few times. I've never lived there or spent a substantial amount of time there, but it's amazing. It's just definitely not the nature aspect, but
Yeah.
wild animals everywhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a rat. I see a cockroach. You know. Yeah.
Yes.
Too often I see them. But
That's so funny.
but can you talk a little bit about your work with being a dancer and choreography? Are you still working on that right now? And
Yeah,
your work in the
I
arts?
am. So that's my life, that's my job. I mean, as well as what I'm doing now, but I'm a choreographer for film, TV, music videos, theater. And I was like flown around the country to do public speaking, and I worked with kids and I was judging dance competitions. I was doing really well. And then speaking about my story has kind of put a little pin in what I was doing. I lost all of the jobs that I was doing before. So
Hmm.
right now I'm focusing more on my story. Like I'm always working on my story, my business, whatever you want to call it, and
Yeah.
helping people. And so I haven't really been doing as much choreography in the last little while, but that's something that's going to be with me till I'm like,
Yeah.
95, still yelling at people, 5, 6, 7, so I'm not worried about it. So yeah,
Yeah. I'm just
yeah.
picturing you with the chorus line. Like,
Oh yeah,
go, go.
absolutely. Put me in.
Yeah. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Exactly.
Amazing. And then speaking of your story, so for our audience, for
Mhm,
people who don't know about Rebecca,
mhm,
so Rebecca started casually dating a guy in 2012 for about a year, and now 10 years later, she's helping other women with healing after trauma. She's a
mhm.
survivor of what's known as revenge porn, when sexually explicit videos are published online without consent. In a study from 2020, an estimated 1 in 12 adults in the US report that they've been victims of revenge porn, and Rebecca's doing something about it. Um,
Yes.
in 2018, Rebecca received a phone call that changed her life forever, a friend informing her that he'd seen a personal sex tape of her online. The tape had been leaked to one of the biggest porn sites in the world, and at the moment, it had over 1 million views and was downloaded globally. So Rebecca had become an unintentional porn star. Can you talk about the steps you took when you first heard about this tape being online?
Yes. By the way, this is something that, 10 years later, it still is quite triggering. So I'll be where I'm holding it right now. But
Mhm.
yeah, in 2013 is when I was originally shown the sex tape online, and it had multiplied on many sites, and legally it wasn't set up to support. It wasn't a crime. Like there was no support for anyone going through anything like this. And the internet was still becoming a big thing. It was already a big thing, but anyways. So I reached out to the cops. I reached out to as many people as I could, and it was basically like, do this on your own. And I did that. And then as soon as it became a legal crime, I slowly started to look into that. And then in 2018, when it was on Pornhub, when that came out for a second time, actually, it had all of those views. And so the 1 million views is an accumulation of all of the views that have been on the tape in general. That tape specifically had 500,000 views, and it shook my entire life. Yeah, it was just something that was unimaginable. And I think I was just in shock, and I hid from it for a solid 5 years. Like, I was like, this isn't real. This isn't going to be anything. Or actually I knew it was going to be something, but I didn't want it to. And so it was just like denial. It was like shame. It was all of these things coming forward. And when I saw that tape again up on Pornhub with all of those views, I was like, enough. Yeah, I'd had enough. And because it was now legally a crime, I ventured in to that journey. And yeah, and I guess since then have been trying to be a voice for people that go through anything similar. I seem to be a very safe space for people that are going through other traumas as well. And so that's sort of how it came together. And when I saw it was in 2013, and it's still up. It's still going around.
Is it still going around the internet?
So what happened? Yeah. What happens is, like, people say, oh, it'll lose interest. It's not about the one tape. It's not about once you get it taken down, it's gone. It's what happens is once it goes online, it becomes downloadable. So anybody can download it. And then from there, they can make their own videos from that. That part isn't necessarily illegal because the people didn't know it was not supposed to be up. So literally like 7 months ago, 8 months ago, 10 years later, I had a friend who was like, crap, I saw it online again. And so it was up on 7 different sites. It's just multiplied. And the industry is starting to, like, the porn industry is starting to create systems to help protect people. It's just at the beginning, and not every site partakes in these sort of like safety parameters for people with videos such as mine.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Just listening to your podcast, because you do have a podcast about it, The Unintentional Porn Star.
Yes.
And your journey of taking legal action, and the steps that you were taking, not necessarily like just with the law, but you and your personhood and how you were feeling, all those steps of your life. And so you were saying that in 2012, the legal system wasn't equipped to handle this. In 2018, it was. Has it since changed since 2018?
That's a great question. Yes. Has it changed? Absolutely. Is there room for growth? Absolutely. So my lawyer, for my case specifically, it was 2013, but for my case specifically, time is not on my side. In these certain situations in Canada, because I'm in Canada dealing with the law here, it's not like the time frame matters. I can only go back 2 years. And yeah, and so time's not on my side, but my lawyer specifically, I love my lawyer. She's this like feminist lawyer. She's super badass. And she's basically like, Rebecca, the law still, they all see you as a slut. You're not, like, it's not on your side. Not many things are on your side. I had, for what we call the crown here, it was 3 women, and they were supposed to meet with me, and they didn't. Like, it was just, everything was just shunned off because people are like, oh, well, she did it to herself. And I'm going,
no.
Yeah. And I'm going, well, hold on a second here. My whole argument, like, I ended up on national television basically being like, hold on a second here. why are you shaming someone for making a sex tape? Why are we not focusing on, and first of all, just the woman, why are we not focusing on the violation, the violator? Why is this the conversation? Why am I getting penalized for this? And so that became the premise of what I like to call like my campaign or my movement, is standing up for women specifically, being like, well, hold on a second here. We're allowed to be sexual. Like, why are we the sluts when the guys are the ones that are getting off okay? And then they're the ones to, in many cases, not all cases, still like run the show, you know? And so it's getting better. And if if somebody today was to take your footage and post it online, jail time, it's like, if you can prove it. And first of all, if you're going through it, like screenshot everything, get the username, get as many bits of information before you get it taken down, so you have your evidence, and that you go to jail now. And so that's why it's better.
Great.
And when you contact porn sites now, it's a little bit easier. It's not great still, but it's a little bit easier for them to take you seriously. When I was first doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, like you freak out. This is the most vulnerable, one of the most vulnerable things ever. And you're like, get this thing taken down. And they don't take it down. It took me weeks or months even to understand the language that they needed to hear to get it taken down. So, and it's getting a little bit better. Like they've set up things to help you, so you're not freaking out, just writing gibberish to them. But yeah, they're in terms of every aspect of these cases, there's so much room for growth.
Wow.
Like, so much. Yeah.
I mean, it's good to hear that things have changed since you started in 2013, but that's crazy that time is not on your side, that it has to be within 2 years, and that you have to prove. I mean, your case, you were saying on your podcast that it came down to he said, she said about criminal charges against the partner who was in the video with you.
Yeah. And I lost, I had years of evidence, emails, screenshots of texts. I had everything. And all he had to say was, I didn't do it. And I lost my case. Like,
so what? Did he do it, do you think?
It's complex. So I sometimes I don't even know what I've shared on my podcast fully, but he says that he had his hard drive stolen. And my first reaction is, why the fuck is it on a hard drive? What are you doing? Like, why are you saving it? And he also was sending me videos of him taking screenshots from videos we took, and he was doing things on, it was getting out of hand. So he claims he didn't do it. I still don't know. I'm not allowed to talk to him, right? Legally. Like, I'm still working through some things that I can't speak about.
Yeah.
Just for legal reasons, but I'm not allowed to speak to him. And I'm thinking of pursuing like restorative justice on top of what I'm doing later, to be able to be like, excuse me, like, what
amazing
happened? Yeah, right. And I didn't even know this was a thing, by the way. This is a very new thing that I learned about restorative justice. If anyone wants to look into it, like, it is such a beautiful option. If you don't, the punitive system is just like taking people down, right? And
can you tell us what restorative justice is?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What is that for our audience?
So I haven't gone through it yet. My understanding of restorative justice at this time is it is an opportunity for you to step into a space with your violator, I guess, and have support, like counselors and legal support with you. And you basically go in with the intention of just having an open space to talk about anything and ask about anything.
Wow.
It's basically, I'm sure it can look different in different situations, but I've had a friend that went through it, and she was like, it was basically like sitting in a circle with a bunch of support. And I got to be like, like, fuck you, and like crying and then healing. It's about healing. So restorative, like restoration, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the stuff that I went through, which looking back, to be honest, I like, if I knew restorative justice was a thing back in the day, I don't think I would have gone after him legally. They tell you to be quiet. They tell you to be a good victim. I'm not a good victim. I speak my word. I think it's important to talk about it. And yeah. And so that's a little bit about like the differences. And don't get me wrong, like suing someone or going after someone legally is a very good option. And if that is your option, that's incredible. There's no wrong way. It's just, there are options. If someone's going through this, there are options to how you can, like, whoever can step into this and ultimately, like, in my eyes, my whole purpose of this, speaking about it and stepping in with my lawyers and talking to the police service, being like, hello, that doesn't make any sense. Can we like do something about this? You know, is to heal. Like, it's to heal self, and it's to help create new systems for people to not have to get just like smothered by everything that goes on when you're stepping into like any sort of process, like mental, emotional, legal, like, oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting what you say on your podcast about how people were shaming celebrities for having these sex tapes that have been leaked, whether it's like Jennifer Lawrence or the Kardashians. I mean, we can go back to Pamela Anderson.
Exactly.
And by you like having these conversations with like the lovely detective that you talked about, how he became more and more comfortable about talking about this. And so just like getting people to say like, hey, like we're not talking about the perpetrator, the male who is also a part of this. We're talking about the slut shaming of women.
Yes.
And why do you think that is?
Ooh.
Big question.
I'm like, do we have a few weeks? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, do we have like 20 years?
Okay. Well, I mean, I do have many thoughts on this, and let me just enter into this conversation just based on my experience and my learnings and my thoughts, right? Like there's a lot of things going on,
and it'll change,
that I don't know about.
It'll change in an hour.
Yes, exactly. Basically, it is, I'm like getting lightheaded. It's just so much. Like it's honestly just about like the patriarchy and you know, women are still fighting for freaking equality, which blows my mind. Like, I just don't understand. So it stems from basically like patriarchal ways and systems that have been in place for forever, since I'm not going to bash anything, but like since like even religion started, right? Like it's just so deeply ingrained that women have a role. We have a role to sort of upkeep. And it used to be, I'm going to say used to, even though it's still present, because I do not want to step into this energy at all, is, you know, how could you serve your man, right? Like how could, you know, and your role was to support your man, and the man was the one to do the thing. And so, you know, that's one small tiny aspect, and this is again based on my research and my knowings, and I'm sure there's a lot of other things out there, and I do have other theories on it, but it basically comes down to that, you know. And we're still, for some reason, women, or anyone of any gender that is going through being themselves, right, it's just not as open-hearted and not as equal, and it just is kind of gross in a lot of ways still, unfortunately. And unfortunately, to like not fortunately, but like to be able to step in, to have a voice, right, to be like, excuse me, this is not right, like that's an opportunity for myself and anyone else that wants to be like, excuse me, you know. So.
But I mean, like what you've done, you've been able to open the conversation in Canada. You've been on national television talking about this, and like you've said that like other reporters kind of shifted their mindset about how they were asking questions and the tone and what they were talking about. So I think that's amazing, Rebecca, that you've been able to kind of create more education by opening up and talking about your story, because 1 in 12 people are affected by this.
Yes.
And
to be honest, it's only going to not get worse, but like our access to internet is continuing to increase. And now there's AI, like things are going to get out of control. And so, you know, we got to try and stay one step ahead of the internet, not behind, but it's hard when it's growing so expansively. And thank you, by the way, I really appreciate that. I have to say, even to this day, you know, as I talk about my story and I shift one person's perspective or a bunch of people, it still is such a challenge, and the kickback is still very real. And, you know, even for myself, like, it's not even about shifting other people's perspectives, but it's like the fact that even one person has had an impact from my voice means everything. And I will continue. I will not stop. You know, it's so important. And ultimately my whole message is about love. Like, can we just love, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a bit of a hippie at heart. And so, you know, I want to love anyone that has tried to harm me. I want to love just in general. And so if that also gets like entered into the conversation through me sharing my voice, then like I feel like I'm sweating right now. It's still difficult. It's just like, it feels so important. And there's so much work to be done. And yeah, if I can help one person, including myself, then it's worth it, you know?
Yeah. That's wonderful. And I think you're shifting mindset like all the time, especially just like the work you do with your podcast as well as your Instagram, being a speaker. What are you up to now, Rebecca? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. The great thing about where I'm at right now is I've been speaking about this for 5 years. And as I'm sweating and getting triggered and feeling super emotional, I am in a space now where I am very substantially helping other people and like consciously walking into that mind frame and consciously walking into steps to that. So what does that look like? That looks like I have a course right now that I've developed for people that have gone through trauma or just want to find themselves. Like I've created a course that's like, hey, have you been through something, or are you feeling like you're not worth it or you're not loved? Like this course is there now to help people find basically like self-love. And so I'm also speaking publicly. Like I'm now, which is so cool to me, I'm now getting flown around, not just Canada, like around parts of the world. It's expanding slowly, but
Wow.
to speak about my story now. And so it's expanding into helping others more than I could have imagined. And it's now at a place of helping others. But I do have to say, you know, healing is not linear. So every step of this journey is also to heal myself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at now. And what I'm doing is healing and thriving, like working on thriving and helping people understand or see that you are like, everyone is so worth enjoying life no matter what. You know, I'm still slut shamed all the time. Like I can't even tell you. It's insane. And it blows my mind. And yet I go, well, hold on a second here. You don't have that power, or you used to have power over me. I'm not going to allow that. I have a boundary now that I love myself so deeply. I'm going to enjoy my life, and I don't care what anyone thinks about me, and I'm going to fucking help others. And like, so if you have a problem with that, like we can talk about it, and also maybe not if my boundary is there. And that's kind of what I want to give other people access to, is the ability to go, because there's so much shame in this world. There's so much pain in this world. And as a society, we kind of perpetrate that or perpetuate, sorry, that. And I just so deeply want people to know that they're allowed to enjoy life and love and laugh no matter what you're going through. Like I still am talking about this. It still is so dark, but I'm going to laugh. God, gosh darn it. Like I'm going to enjoy my life. I am worthy of it. I deserve it. And kind of like, fuck all y'all. In a healthy way.
Awesome. Yes. Yes, you should laugh, and you deserve everything in life.
Thank you.
Also, talk about shame. I work in women's health. So
oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like
I know. We talk about periods all the time. What a
yes.
taboo. Half the population
I started to talk about that more too. Like it's just unreal, but like things that are just being a woman is like, it's been so hidden and so shamed and so uncomfortable. We don't talk about that, you know. And it's like, well, we have a lot of stuff going on, and it's really awesome too if you really tap in, and it can be a lot. You know?
Yeah. I know, because it's great to be a woman. Something that we ask on this podcast every time is, what is your definition of womanhood? And you've kind of tapped into that, but what would you say it is for you at this particular moment?
I love how you're like, you've tapped into that. I'm like, have I?
Yeah, you're like, being a woman is like going for it, is laughing.
Yes.
And what is it now?
It's power. It's such power. It's incredible. Like, I think being a woman is, at this point in Earth and society, and most of society, it is fragile in some areas of the world. And it is probably because there is a level of threat to some capacity. You know, we create life, and and also those who associate with being a woman. If you don't create life, like, you still have that power, right? Like, whether you believe in feminine energy, masculine energy, whatever you believe in, however you associate, you know, being a woman in today's time is power. And that's how I see it. And having power also comes with challenges. And I think that is what we are seeing, you know, if this is my definition of, in a very, like, metaphorical way, probably, but, like, you know, with that power comes challenges, and it's just stepping into that power and choosing that power constantly is so beautiful. And power also can be associated with other energies. And yet, like, softness is also power, right? And kindness is also power, and fierceness is also power. And just being who you are, I think that's what being a woman is. It's power, and it's being who you are. And there's no definition of what you are supposed to look like or be like as a woman, or if you associate with being a woman. Like, there's just no definition. It's you, you know, like, being a woman, being you is power. That's how I kind of see it.
I love that. I think that's an amazing definition, power, because that's what you're doing right now, taking back your story, giving power to others, empowering other women. And I think, like, everything that you're doing, Rebecca, is really channeling that. So,
thank you.
Yes, you rock.
You rock too. Like, look at us go.
Whoa. And Rebecca, how can people get in contact with you, or how should they stay in the loop about what you're doing?
There's a few ways. I would say the best way to, like, contact me and get in touch with me, and also see a bit of myself, or all of myself, not all of myself, a bit of myself and my story, is through Instagram. So at Rebecca Reinhart. And there's also my website. It's RebeccaReinhart.com. You can go to the podcast, The Unintentional Porn Star. So I'm an artist. I'm a creator. I have a multitude of avenues that you can go to. Instagram is the best way to be like, hey, how are you? You know, or tell me more about your story. So I would say that would be a great way. But there's also, like, all the other fun things too.
Yes. Yeah, definitely check out her podcast, The Unintentional Porn Star, because it's very empowering and amazing to hear your story from your perspective as it's happening.
Thank you.
And it's still going on
Yes.
with some like amazing other partners in crime that you get to talk to every week.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's still going on, and it's expanding. The podcast itself, I'm grateful for, and I'm just also like, wow, like, we're here, and we're still here, and we're still making moves. Like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you. I really appreciate this, and I'm truly honored. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna press stop recording.
Okay.